Top of the morning to you. Saturday morning, and we're getting after it again. I told you, just because it's a weekend doesn't mean that it's all over. But, it's not as crazy because, we've done all the work Monday through Friday. So Saturday is just kind of like it's a finish off the week day, So did some cardio, got the weighted vest on, kicking ass, but yeah, so I started watching, as my YouTube stuff and as we're doing cardio, and I came across a really good news segment with RFK and about nutrition and about, the American diet, and that's kind of like what we strive for. We're striving to eat better, live longer, better quality of life, and a lot of it has to do with these goddamn crap that they're feeding us. If you think about it, all the junk that we eat and process that you eat, I'm on carnivore, so I'm eating steaks and chicken, and I'm not eating any of that shit. So but you think about it, it's like all the autoimmune diseases and cancers and all these ADHDs and stuff like that. It's like, think there's something to this. But like I said, love them, hate them, or other. This isn't a political thing by any means, but RFK is a powerhouse. The guy's 71 years old. He looks like he's like younger than me. He's stout as hell, and he is spearheading this, and I think it's awesome. I think his platform for what this is happening is awesome. So give a listen to this.
RFK Jr. is throwing his support behind Donald Trump, in part because he and the former president agree on a number of key issues, and that includes the American diet and what's in our food.
I also want to salute Bobby's decades of work as an advocate for the health of our families and our children. Nobody's done more.
We talked not about the things that separate us because we don't agree on everything, but on the values and the issues that bind us together. And one of the issues that he talked about was having safe food and ending the chronic disease epidemic. And don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again?
Before his announcement, I spoke with Kennedy about this very topic and a potential position in the Trump White House. Take a look. I thought it'd be great to just kind of look at some of these items because parents are encountering these food items in grocery stores everywhere. Maybe we could just start right here with seed oils. We're hearing a lot about seed oils. Why should people be worried about these kind of products?
Seed oils are one of the most unhealthy ingredients that we have in foods. And seed oils, the reason they're in the foods is because they're heavily subsidized. They're very, very cheap, but they are associated with all kinds of very, very serious illnesses, including body-wide inflammation.
Right.
Which affects all of our health. It's one of the worst things you can eat, and it's almost impossible to avoid. If you eat any processed food, you're going to be eating seed oil.
Right, and it's interesting, the government subsidizes it. Why would the government want to subsidize something that's going to make people sick, and then in the end, we all end up paying for that in terms of healthcare costs, which are skyrocketing?
Yeah, because that is a direct result of corruption. About 75% of FDA's budget comes from regulated industry, and that means food processors and pharmaceutical industry. All of them profit from a sick population.
A big item that, and by the way, it's getting very expensive, are cereals. Why is the food coloring in particular bad?
Food coloring, you see here yellow food coloring, that is a petroleum product. Mm-hmm. It's associated with really, with depression. It's associated with autoimmune injuries and ADHD.
Yeah.
And red dye also is very bad. In Europe, the same companies are producing the same products, but they're using natural coloring. But here they can get away with it. We have about almost 1,000 chemicals that are in our food. that are either outright banned in Europe or actively discouraged. So you wouldn't be able to buy this kind of stuff in Europe. You ask about why it's so cheap, why it's so ubiquitous. It's because we subsidize the worst foods. We subsidize it with about 70% of our food stamp program is to processed foods, which are all poison.
Right. One of the things that's interesting is you'll see on labels natural flavors, which is this catch-all phrase that I guess was lobbied for, but the ingredients in natural flavors are not really natural.
No. In our country, natural flavors are chemical products. So you can't trust what's on the ingredient label, and the reason for that, again, is government corruption. It's that the agency, the USDA, the FDA, have been captured by the industries they're supposed to regulate. And they all have an interest in subsidies and then in mass poisoning the American public.
Yeah, I want to talk about pesticides, and then let's talk about the policy. So let's talk about the pesticides and the things that worry you about. I mean, this looks like fresh food, right? What should I be worried about here?
Yeah, I mean, the irony is, like, for example, my wife loves kale, and she had the impression that kale is actually good for you. If it's organic, it's very good for you. But most kale and strawberries, for example, grapes, are contaminated with pesticides. And particularly the Environmental Working Group has found what they call the dirty dozen, some of the worst pesticides on these products. So, I look at a strawberry and I think, oh, this is a healthy food. Right. But in most cases, unless it's organic, certified organic, you are getting something that's actually hurting you.
What can be done at a government level to stop this and make people get healthy?
Yeah, as president, I'll issue an executive order on day one that anybody who is recommending food products in USDA or FDA at any of those committees, if you are going to be on those committees, you have to have no conflict of interest. We spend 5 times our military budget on chronic disease.
Yeah.
And it's made us the sickest population in the world. And if you wonder why we're the sickest people in the world, why do we have these epidemics of ADHD and depression and all these kind of psychiatric illnesses that have been linked by the science to these kind of foods, to the ingredients of these foods? And why do we have these neurological disorders, all this epidemic of autoimmune disease?
So many of these products are geared towards children, which I think is what's really tragic about it. It's sort of like you're putting them at a very early age on this pathway to chronic disease. And then at the end of that is pharma to sort of cure whatever the food did to you.
The advisors who actually choose the nutrition guidelines are almost all of corrupted. They're conflicted.
Are you willing to take on a position like this in the Trump administration as health czar?
Well, one way or the other, I'm going to be fighting to get this stuff out of our foods. I mean, we're poisoned. We have a generation of kids that are swimming around in a toxic soup right now. And we need to, we're betraying them. We're supposed to be taking care of our kids, and we're letting these industries corrupt our agencies and mass poison them. And, nobody in the world has a chronic disease epidemic of the kind that we have in this country.
Yeah, it's true. I think it's a sleeper issue of this election. So I really appreciate you coming on, explaining this, breaking it down, and laying out your policies.
Rachel, thanks for having me, and thanks for paying attention to this. I think I know that it's difficult in your position to go up against powerful industries. I'm glad you're telling the truth.
Well, there you have it, guys. Okay, so love them or hate them, all that shit makes sense. Okay, so I don't give a shit if you're right, left, upside down, green, blue, red, orange. Okay, Republican, Democrat bullshit. Okay, because you some crazy son of bitches out there, no doubt. But everybody should get behind this, okay? So years and years and years ago, okay, where was the cancers? Where was the ADHDs? Where was the autoimmune diseases? Okay, they weren't there until the American food companies started injecting us with all this processed bullshit. Did you know that we have the best and the awesomest and the most tasty livestock beef in the world? Guess where it goes? We ship that shit out, okay? We ship that shit out to other countries, and we get, if you go to like your supermarkets and shit like that, and you go get your meat there, okay? That shit is coming from like Germany and Japan and China and shit like that has all the shit. We're shipping out the good stuff and bringing back in the shitty stuff. Why? Because those motherfuckers make money, okay, on foods, okay? Health industry makes money off of you being sick, okay? There's no cure and there's no money in cancer cure, right? So all this bullshit, all this stuff that's out there is all, I would say, pretty damn close to being 70, 80% due to the food industry. So, there you have it, guys. Hey, that's my morning rant for Saturday. Since it is health and fitness, and we are trying to kind of improve our life and live longer and have a better quality of life. I thought that was a badass one when I saw that this morning. I was like, you know what? This right here, I gotta get this thing so that way everybody can see it. Because if you don't, okay, which a lot of people don't watch the news or any of that bullshit, they think it's political. That was not political, okay? That was basically two forces, Democrat and Republican, coming together for the greater cause of the American people. That's it, guys. Have a coffee.